Coming up in this issue of Marlborough magazine, over 40 years ago, a man by the name of Red made the ultimate sacrifice. We'll tell you about him. The Marlborough Labor Day Parade almost got cut for the first time ever. As usual, the city rallied together to save a long-running Marlborough tradition. These stories and more are in this issue of Marlborough magazine.
Hello, and welcome to our latest issue of Marlborough magazine. I'm Susan Laufer. If you have kids that like to run around at playgrounds, you might have noticed that all the parks in Marlborough have relatively new slides and swings. Actually, all but one, Coleane Park, had been outfitted with new equipment. However, that is changing even as we speak.
We've been after it for years through the city and the forestry department, through Chris White and the city. They got grant money to initially replace the playground. All the other ones in town were replaced, and this is the last one to be replaced. So, and then we just took it from there with the neighborhood getting together to help build it, and through the forestry department to get everything together.
Now that the construction has begun, the completion can be seen like the light at the end of a tunnel.
What we're working on here today is the two biggest units, play booster units, and the swing set. The timetable, we have the volunteers. We asked for Saturday and Sunday of this week. The goal here is to get the two bigger units set up. The swing set is already ready to go now, shy of backfilling it. And if we get that goal done this weekend, that's great. And then we'll come back through the DPW and parks and work on assembling the rest of the units, the smaller units, and the finish-up work.
Paul Gould had also mentioned that Chris White and the DPW were instrumental in getting this park underway. The city of Marlborough has had many citizens to be proud of from the present and the past. We're about to tell you the story of a man who made a tremendous sacrifice to save lives, but it wound up costing him his own.
If you drive through Marlborough, you're bound to see all the monuments in the city. Have you ever stopped to read the inscriptions? You should. It'll give you a better idea of just how lucky we are to be living in this country. Men and women who gave their lives for our freedom. However, not all of these monuments have been erected for the people who fought for our country's freedom. Some are all about the great people who sacrificed their lives to save others. Robert Touchette did just that. A man known to close friends and family as Red was the true definition of the word hero.
Robert Red Touchette was born in East Fairfield, Vermont in 1932. He was one of 9 children born into the family of Wallace and Iva Touchette. At the age of 11, Robert's parents packed up and moved their clan to Marlborough, Massachusetts. Touchette was very quiet and reserved, never the type to stand out in school by any loudmouth words or actions. 3 of Red's friends and former classmates remember the young man who was so well liked and as laid back as a hot summer day.
Never once did I ever hear him say a bad word about somebody. Never once did I hear him talk about somebody behind their back. Never once did he ever do anything to make me upset.
He was right up near the top of the list as far as just being laid back. He really was. He was too cool. Red was just too cool. You couldn't rile him, not that I could ever remember.
All young kids and teenagers have dreams, and Touchette was no exception. He had a strong interest and love of flying airplanes. That was a pastime that almost got him into trouble on more than one occasion with a truant officer by the name of Joe Collins.
Every time Joe knew that Red was not in his class or appropriate class, he'd head down to the Marlborough airport, and if Red would be up in the plane, flying the plane, and Don Lockature and the other fellows who were down there, they would cover for him. They'd see him coming, and Red's up on the plane. They say, Red, stay up there. Your buddy's down here looking for you. Or if he was on the ground, they'd hide him in the hangar someplace.
He would disappear and never say a word to anybody.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Perhaps Red knew that he was on his way to a career that best suited him. A year after graduating high school, he went into the service as an enlisted man and stayed for 3 years. From there, Touchette applied for flight school and became a cadet. During this time, he flew 38 missions over Korea. During peacetime, Captain Robert Touchette was stationed at Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama. On January 27, 1962, Red would climb aboard his F-86 Sabre for the last time. Shortly after takeoff, a fire signal flashed on board. This situation would rattle many a man, but not Touchette. He calmly asked his wingman, "Would you please make a pass and see if you can spot flames?" His wingman replied, "I can't see any flame, but you better eject, Bob." The captain would not do so. He remained calm, cool, and polite, to the amazement of one dispatcher. "I sure as hell hope he makes it." Then wondered, how a guy can be that polite in a situation like that, I don't know.
Here he was going down, knew what was going to happen, he was so calm. And that was pretty appropriate of what Red was.
Despite all the pleas for him to eject from his plane, Touchette wouldn't. He was flying over a populated area and wouldn't allow all those people to be killed. He continued on in the ultimate sacrifice a human being can make. Late that night, the body of Captain Robert Red Touchette was pulled, along with his wrecked plane, from 20 feet of swampland near the Alabama River. Touchette's body was transferred to Marlborough for the funeral. His brothers then transported him to Montgomery, Vermont, where he was laid to rest beside his parents. Touchette did something that we all see in movies. Some of us may even think we can do the same thing under those circumstances, but you never know what courage or lack of courage lies beneath.
I've been in some pretty screwy situations on the submarine.
Yeah.
Pretty screwy, with like 2 miles of water underneath us when everything is hitting the fan. And I've seen some people freeze, and people are different. They react different ways.
But if you had to go ahead and kind of project, you would realize that Red was that type of a person.
38 years after Touchette died, something was finally done to pay tribute to a true American hero. However, it came up in an unusual place.
It sprung up in Dutchie's laundry at home. Driving through Marlborough all the time, you see these streets named after 9 million different people, and they all seem like they were dedicated to military people for some reason. And it was our reunion night, and we all went back to Dutch Clyde's house, and I just says, "Hey, why don't we try to do something for Touchette? Maybe we can get a street named after Touchette." Well, that's all he's got to know, you know, and that started the whole thing rolling.
Marlborough High School class of '49 member Clyde Johnson did get the ball rolling. He helped set up a 14-member committee that lobbied for a memorial for this unsung hero. The City Council approved the naming of Touchette Square in 1999. The square is located at the intersection of Granger Boulevard and Main Street. Time and hard work was donated, and money was raised too by the class of '49. The end result was an appropriate tribute to a former classmate.
It is appropriate that it's for a special guy. And here's the guy that sacrificed his life and stayed with the plane instead of jumping out of it.
Robert Touchette was not a movie star. He wasn't a rock star. He wasn't a professional athlete either. He was, however, a true hero. I'm Dan Ginden for the Marlborough Magazine.
Every city takes pride in its appearance, and Marlborough is no different. That's why so many are excited about the Marlborough Firehouse Restoration Project. The doors at the old Central Fire Station were opened for a look at the progress being made. Marlborough Magazine was there to take a sneak peek at what this old building will look like when it's finished.
It is said that the best things come to those who wait. If there is any truth in that saying, the old Central Fire Station will be one of the more exciting ribbon cuttings this city has seen in a long time. The building has been vacant since 1994 when the fire department moved into their new building on Maple Street. This century-old building also once housed the police station and the courthouse. After the last tenants moved out, the building became an eyesore and a major topic of discussion, focusing on what to do or not do with this local landmark. Ideas and solutions came and went, until September of 2001, when the Marlborough City Council appropriated $40,000 for hazardous waste cleanup. That really got the ball rolling to the spring of 2003, when the Assabet Valley Regional Technical High School students completed their first full year of construction.
It looks fantastic, it really does. Having seen this building before the restoration began and seeing it today, I've actually seen it in several stages, but today really is a culmination of tremendous amount of work by the students and their instructors. I mean, there's just so many pats on the back that we could give today.
I am really surprised with the way things are turning out. The kids are really cleaning it up. They're gaining a lot of experience in their trades, and certainly I think it's going to be a showpiece of the downtown area.
You know, if we only had a film of what it looked like before we walked into it, they might have said, let's just tear it down. Who the hell wants to get inside here? But when you look at it today and you see the amount of work that all the kids did, the instructors did, it's just monumental.
The work that these students have done so far is impressive. There isn't any before footage, but this is probably one of those times that is a good thing. All the pictures would show is dead pigeons and their feces, and it would show hardwood floors ruined by years of leaky ceilings. Nothing worthy of this building's proud past.
And it's important because of what the building was when it was built. I mean, this was where the fire station and the police station and the courthouse was. It was the center of all municipal activity here, except for City Hall. So it's an extremely important building, and at least now, because it's being preserved, people can come back and see and envision what happened here 100 years ago.
Assabet Valley has a big hand in what is taking place here. Remember the Marlborough magazine issue where students like these built robots for school competitions? Well, it's obvious that robotics aren't this school's only strength.
All the structural work, all the steel work, all the resurfacing of the floors, making the building stable where it was so unstable with the structural issues. You really got to give credit to the kids and the faculty. And to do this job with 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. You know, not adults, not seasoned veterans in the world of the trades.
The old ironwork, beautiful light holders, and it's going to be beautiful.
Dennis Ingham of Gorman Richardson Architecture in Hopkinton are helping the city and school with this revitalization project. Ingham gave a tour to city officials in hopes of leading visions of what beauty and excitement this old building will have once it is finished. The idea is to have businesses throughout, as well as a bakery and cafe on the first floor that could spill out onto the sidewalk. Two things are certain. These hard-working students are ready for summer vacation, and there is no doubt that when they are finished with the Marlborough Firehouse Restoration Project, you'll be happy they were on the job. I'm Dan Ginden for Marlborough Magazine.
In a related story, John Galoni is working hard to get a replica of the old Renzi shoe repair shop moved into the renovated building. Marlborough Magazine's Sophie Burke has more.
Can you tell me what a cobbler is?
Couldn't tell you, no.
Can you tell me what a cobbler is?
A cobbler?
Okay, you guys, can you tell me what a cobbler is?
Yes, it's a dessert of some type, which could be apple or peach. I don't know exactly what it means. Oh, a cobbler like shoes? Or the dessert?
Today there are probably as many people who don't know what a cobbler is as there are those who do. But the city of Marlborough is not about to let the profession fade into history. Plans are underway to relocate the closed Renzi shoe service into the old fire station and set it up as a museum.
The reason why we want to take the cobbler shop down, the Renzi's cobbler shop on Lower Main Street, is it's the last remaining evidence of a shoe industry here in the community of Marlborough.
All the old shoe repairing machinery remains intact in the Renzi shoe service, and the Renzis have agreed to donate it to the city.
I think it's a great opportunity to get this equipment. We're going to get it for nothing. We hope to find a location in the fire station, the old fire station on Main Street, and set up as more of a historical location and being reminiscent of the old repair shop.
Roman Kimyagorov, the owner of Arthur & Sons Shoe Repair on Main Street, explains some of what the equipment does.
Yeah, I'm using exactly the same Landis 12L that they got. This is very good machine. This is another very old machinery equipment here. This is trimmers, like you trim soles and heels, like right to the edge. When you put new leather and rubber soles, you trim it. This is very imported equipment too. Yeah, we have very nice Zinger sewing machine right here. Basically, what you do, you can sew everything light, like light uppers on the shoes, pocketbooks, zippers on the leather jackets, patches, everything on this machine.
At one time, cobbler shops like Renzi's and Arthur & Sons were plentiful throughout Marlborough. Today, Arthur & Sons is the only cobbler shop left.
Only one place in town, so we're very busy here. Yeah.
But out of all the cobbler shops that have come and gone in Marlborough, Renzi's Shoe Service is the longest-running cobbler shop in Marlborough's history.
It's the only place I remember we could go and have our shoes repaired and shine at the same time.
Opened in 1902 by Rocco Renzi, it was closed in 2000 by his son, Benedict.
He came into the century and I gave up the third century.
Together with his brother Giulio, Benedict practiced the cobbler's craft on Main Street for over 60 years. He took over the shop shortly after his father's death in 1930.
A cobbler just repairs shoes. He puts on new soles or heels, and years ago, if he would alter a shoe if it didn't fit you, like orthopedic work, or he'd take the new shoes. He had customers, brand new shoes, bring them in and tear them apart. Not all of them, but what he had to do, either put a new inner sole or raise it inside, or take it apart and make it one shoe smaller than the other. But still it was a new shoe, but he'd alter it to fit the person. That's kind of lost that.
Many longtime Marlborough residents recall bringing their shoes to Renzi's. Can I get your names?
Mary Dion.
Nelson Dion.
And when did you ever bring your shoes to Renzi's Shoe Repair?
Many years ago.
Yeah.
What are your memories of the Renzi's Shoe Repair?
Well, that they were very nice men. They both were, and very accommodating, and two brothers that you really would respect highly.
What are your memories of the Renzi Shoe Repair?
Nice people. Always was very sociable. Always got your stuff fast. They were very good, and they never took a ticket. I don't know how they remember who they belonged to, but they always did.
Renzi's business, like many other shoe repairing businesses, changed a lot over the second half of the 20th century.
Do you get your shoes repaired anymore nowadays, or?
No, these don't need repair much. You throw them away after a while.
When inexpensive shoes and sneakers became more widely available in the 1970s, people began to buy a new pair of shoes instead of getting old shoes fixed.
It's a quick thing. You go in and buy a pair of shoes, throw the other ones away. They won't bother bringing them to me to get fixed, because they figured it would cost almost just as much or more at times. So I don't blame them.
The shoe shining part of Renzi's business also slowed down over the years. Better shoe polishes became available in drugstores, enabling people to polish their own shoes at home, and streets and driveways were paved. When the streets and driveways were paved, people had less occasion to walk over dirt and thus get their shoes scuffed.
The streets are clean. There's no more of that mud that there used to be, and sand, and the roads are all dirt roads, electric cars, trains. How could you keep... I remember we took a train to Boston from Marlborough. They used to complain the soot would come in through the windows.
These changes in society, driving instead of walking to work, paved streets and driveways, consumer shoe polish, and inexpensive shoes and sneakers, provide some explanation as to why there are so few cobblers left in business. But another factor is education.
I think it's not such a thing like a school to be a cobbler. Like it goes from a person to person.
It's a lost art anyway.
When the Renzi Shoe Service moves into the renovated old fire station next year, not only will it give people an opportunity to remember the Renzi Shoe Service, it will also give people an opportunity to remember a profession that was once an integral part of Marlborough's past. And when people look at all of Renzi's cobbler machinery, they'll also have an opportunity to think about what Marlborough was like when cobbler was a household word, when people fixed their shoes instead of throwing them out, and when people either took the trolley or walked to work. For Marlborough Magazine, I'm Sophie Burke.
Every year there seems to be some kind of weather issue surrounding the Labor Day parade in Marlborough. Hurricane warnings, tropical storms, or just a lot of rain would make people wonder if the parade would happen. This year, people wondered about the parade going on for a different reason.
Until the summer of 2003, the only roadblocks involving the Labor Day parade have been actual blockades set up by the Marlborough Police Department. Never has a parade's demise been caused by a lack of funds. That was going to be the case this year when the City Council cut the monies for the Labor Day parade. That was a shock to all of Marlborough. Sure, items get cut from the budget all the time, but never have budget cuts involved this city's traditional parade. The rallying cry went out, and the people of Marlborough answered the call.
First of all, Randy Scott and the Lions Club were talking about it at Bumpy's, and they started to formulate some ideas the next day.
By Tuesday morning, Sue Lieber came in to see me from the Chamber of Commerce, and she had been doing essentially the same kind of a thing, and every time she would walk in, she would call the mayor's office.
And they said, you need to talk to Randy because he's doing things. So we both thought of the same thing at the same time.
So we kind of banded together with the Chamber of Commerce to put this together in such a way that we would have one faction doing volunteer work and raising money from the general public. Chamber of Commerce is going to work on soliciting the larger corporate donations.
And those corporate donations did come in from businesses large and small. The largest so far has come from St. Mary's Credit Union in the sum of $15,000. All businesses that have donated seem to be in agreement that the Labor Day parade is important to the history and tradition of this city.
We made a contribution to the parade because we felt that the Labor Day parade is very traditional in Marlborough, and that we have been a part of this community since 1900, and that we felt it imperative for us to donate to the cause.
I'd like to live in a community that has some unique things, and I get around the state a lot, especially when I work for the school department, and people always mention how great the Marlborough parade was.
It's important to keep the spirit of the city alive, and that's one of the venues that we do have that keeps the city and the people together.
I've been in this area for about 7 years. I've gone every year with my nephews, and it's just very important for them to see the community get together, and Marlborough's just done such a great job with it that it has to be there every year.
It was something that's near and dear to me, you know, having grown up in Marlborough. The parade was always, you know, the biggest event of the year in Marlborough. It's such a wonderful expression of who we are as a community.
Let's put Marlborough on the map. I mean, people, you know, sometimes Marlborough is wedged between Worcester and Boston. So this gives Marlborough and the Metro West a presence. And certainly the business community certainly benefits. I'm sure there's a lot of businesses that are open that day and even that weekend that can generate some income for themselves. So it benefits the health of the business community as well.
T-shirts and buttons were made up to sell to the public for fundraising. Here's the list of places you can purchase them. Every cent of your donation goes directly to the parade. The Lions Club held a toll road collection and raised nearly $8,000, while the American Legion recently held a fundraiser at Masonic Hall. Food was served and a raffle was held. The evening's entertainment was provided free of charge by Ray Valenti's Advantage Entertainment Unlimited. The fundraising didn't end on this night either. On September 8th, the Marlborough Shamrocks will donate the money they make from their game to the Save the Parade effort. Also, on Saturday, August 9th, 4 booths were set up where volunteers sold more T-shirts and pins for a minimum donation of $1. Marlborough Magazine will provide you with updated news surrounding the Labor Day Parade as it happens. This is Dan Ginden for Marlborough Magazine.
That will do it for this issue of Marlborough Magazine. Once again, we want to remind you that if you want to become involved in the show in any way, give us a call at 508-481-1373 or send an email to marlboroughmagazine@yahoo.com. You can become an editor, camera person, writer, or be on the air. Just let us know what your interest is. We're going to leave you with a look at some of the snowy difficulties of the past winter, just in case you have been complaining about the heat. I'm Susan Laufer. Thank you for watching.